Tokyo, Japan. Nippon Budokan Arena. November 8, 1968. Saturday afternoon, 2 p.m. The largest martial arts tournament in Asia is reaching its climax. 5,000 spectators packed into seats surrounding a massive competition floor where the finest karate practitioners from 14 countries are demonstrating their skills. Television cameras from 3 networks are recording everything. Newspapers from around the world have sent their best sports journalists. This is not a small local event. This is the International Karate Championship, the most prestigious tournament outside of America, and every move, every technique, every victory and defeat will be documented, analyzed, and discussed for years to come. But nobody in that arena, not the competitors, not the judges, not the media, has any idea that in approximately 40 minutes, they will witness something that should be impossible. Something that will be captured on film and yet still be debated and dismissed for the next 5 decades. Something that will challenge every assumption about what makes a fighter truly dangerous. Chuck Norris, 28 years old, defending world champion, undefeated in international competition for the past 18 months. He has traveled from the United States specifically to defend his title against the best Asia has to offer. Standing 5 feet 10 inches tall, 170 pounds, he represents American karate at its peak. His Tang Soo Do style, a Korean martial art he has perfected over 12 years of intense training, has proven superior to every challenge. His speed is remarkable. His power is devastating. His tournament record speaks for itself. 63 consecutive victories. Not a single loss since he refined his competition strategy. He is the man everyone must beat to claim legitimacy in the karate world. And he knows it. His confidence is not arrogance. It is the natural result of consistent dominance against elite opposition. Somewhere in the competitor preparation area, away from the cameras and crowds, sits a man nobody expected to see at this tournament. Masahiko Kimura, 51 years old, 5 feet 7 inches tall, 154 pounds, a name that means nothing to the karate community but everything to those who understand the deeper history of Japanese martial arts. He is not a karate practitioner. He is a judoka, one of the greatest judo champions Japan has ever produced. In 1951, he defeated Helio Gracie in Brazil, breaking Gracie's arm with a shoulder lock that would later be named after him, the Kimura lock. But that was 17 years ago. Now he is in his 50s, officially retired from competition, working as a martial arts instructor in a small dojo in Osaka. His presence at this tournament is unusual. He is not competing. He is not coaching. He is here as a special guest, invited to give a demonstration of classical judo techniques during the intermission between championship matches. What almost nobody knows, what will only become clear in hindsight, is that Kimura has been watching Chuck Norris very carefully all morning. He has studied every one of Chuck's matches, analyzed his movement patterns, identified his tendencies. And Kimura has seen something that bothers him deeply. Not Chuck's skill, which is obvious and impressive, but his assumptions. The way Chuck moves shows a fighter who has mastered one range, one type of combat, one set of rules. Kimura recognizes this because he has seen it before in countless competitors who dominate their sport but have never faced opposition from outside their system. And Kimura, in his quiet, respectful way, has decided that Chuck Norris needs to learn something today. Something that cannot be taught through normal training. Something that requires direct experience. The morning session has been spectacular. Chuck Norris has advanced through 4 matches without losing a single point. His opponents, all high-ranking black belts from Japan, Korea, and Taiwan, have been unable to touch him. His distance management is perfect. His timing is flawless. His counters are so fast that judges must review footage to confirm his techniques landed before his opponents could complete their attacks. The crowd is impressed but also resigned. It appears obvious that Chuck will retain his championship. The only question is whether anyone in the final matches can score even a single point against him. The martial arts journalists are already writing their stories in their heads. American karate champion proves superior once again. Traditional Asian styles unable to match modern tournament training. The narrative writes itself. If you want to discover what happened when these 2 martial artists from completely different worlds met on camera, when Chuck Norris faced a challenge unlike anything in his tournament career, and learned the shocking lesson that was captured on film but dismissed by most people who saw it, stay with me until the end. This is not a story about winning or losing. This is about the moment when one of the greatest karate champions in the world discovered that his understanding of fighting was incomplete. This is about respect earned through humility. This is about a 51-year-old retired judoka teaching a lesson that would change Chuck Norris's approach to martial arts forever. And it was all recorded on camera for anyone willing to see the truth. During the lunch break, Kimura approaches the tournament director. The conversation is brief, conducted in Japanese, but the result is significant. Kimura requests permission to issue a special challenge during his demonstration. Not a formal match, not part of the tournament structure, but an educational demonstration. He wants to show the difference between sport karate and classical judo grappling. The tournament director is hesitant. This could be seen as disrespectful to the karate competitors. But Kimura's reputation is such that his request cannot be easily dismissed. He is a living legend in Japanese martial arts, a man who has brought honor to Japan through his victories around the world. Finally, the director agrees, but with conditions. It must be presented as education, not challenge. It must be brief. And most importantly, the other party must agree voluntarily. Kimura walks across the arena floor during the break, moving slowly, his body showing the accumulated wear of decades of brutal judo training. He approaches Chuck Norris, who is sitting with his team, reviewing footage of his morning matches. "Excuse me, Champion Norris," Kimura says in heavily accented but clear English. "My name is Masahiko Kimura. I am a judo instructor. I have been watching your matches this morning. Your karate is very impressive. Very fast, very technical. Congratulations on your success." Chuck stands and bows respectfully, recognizing that this older man carries himself with the dignity of someone who has earned respect through long service to martial arts. "Thank you, Sensei. Your words honor me." Kimura continues, his tone remaining polite but his message carrying weight. "I have a request. During my demonstration today, I would like to show the audience something educational. I would like to demonstrate how judo grappling interacts with karate striking. I am asking if you would agree to be my partner for this demonstration. It would not be a match. It would be educational. I believe it would be valuable for everyone watching, including yourself. There is much that sport karate does not prepare fighters for. I can show you some of these things, if you are willing to learn." Chuck Norris processes this request carefully. On one hand, agreeing could be seen as risky. This is a judo expert asking to demonstrate techniques against him in front of 5,000 people and television cameras. On the other hand, refusing would be seen as fear, as unwillingness to face challenge outside his comfort zone. And beyond the politics, Chuck is genuinely curious. He has trained primarily in striking arts. His understanding of grappling is limited to basic defense. This could be an opportunity to learn something valuable. After a moment of consideration, Chuck nods. "I accept your invitation, Sensei Kimura. I am always willing to learn. Please show me what you wish to demonstrate." The word spreads quickly through the arena. During the intermission, there will be a special demonstration. Masahiko Kimura, the legendary judoka, will demonstrate grappling techniques against Chuck Norris, the undefeated karate champion. The energy in the building shifts dramatically. What had been a predictable tournament suddenly becomes something more interesting. Nobody knows exactly what will happen, but everyone senses this will be significant. The television cameras are repositioned to capture optimal angles. Journalists move closer to the competition floor. This is no longer just a tournament. This is a cross-style demonstration that could reveal important truths about martial arts effectiveness. Before we see what happened during this demonstration, I need you to do something right now. If you are intrigued by this story, if you want to know what occurred when these two legends met on camera, hit that subscribe button immediately. We bring you the most incredible untold stories from martial arts history, moments that were witnessed but misunderstood, events that challenged conventional wisdom. Drop a like on this video and share it with everyone who loves martial arts, who respects Chuck Norris, who wants to understand the deeper truths about fighting that go beyond tournament rules. Comment below and tell me what you think will happen. Can a 51-year-old judoka really teach Chuck Norris something he does not know? Let me know your prediction. Now let us continue with this shocking encounter. The intermission arrives. The competition floor is cleared. A single mat is placed in the center, standard judo competition mat, slightly softer than the hard floor used for karate matches. Masahiko Kimura enters first, wearing a traditional white judo gi and his black belt, the fabric worn and faded from decades of use. He bows to the audience, to the judges, showing respect to everyone present. His movements are slow, deliberate, the movements of a man whose body has endured thousands of throws, thousands of brutal randori sessions, but whose technique remains precise despite age. Chuck Norris enters wearing his karate gi, crisp and clean, his black belt tied perfectly. He bows to Kimura, showing respect, but his body language reveals confidence. He has agreed to this demonstration, but he does not anticipate being challenged beyond his ability to respond. In his mind, this will be an interesting learning experience, a chance to feel some judo techniques in a controlled environment. He has no idea what is about to happen. The referee, a senior judo instructor, explains the rules to the audience in Japanese, which is then translated to English. This is not a competition. This is a demonstration. Kimura will show various judo techniques. Chuck will respond naturally, defending as he sees fit. The demonstration will continue until Kimura has shown sufficient examples, or until Chuck requests to stop. Both parties have agreed to these terms. Kimura and Chuck face each other in the center of the mat, standing about 6 feet apart. Kimura assumes a natural stance, hands hanging loosely at his sides. Chuck assumes his karate stance, weight on his back leg, hands up in a guarding position, ready to defend or counter-strike. For several seconds, nothing happens. They simply observe each other. Then Kimura speaks, his voice carrying across the quiet arena. In karate, you learn to control distance, to use strikes to keep opponent away, to score points by touching target first. This is good for tournament. But what happens when distance disappears? What happens when opponent does not respect your strikes and closes range? Let me show you. Kimura takes one step forward, closing the distance slightly. Chuck shifts his weight, adjusts his stance, preparing to maintain optimal range. But Kimura's movement is not aggressive. It is testing, measuring. Then Kimura moves again, this time faster, covering the remaining distance in a blur of motion that seems impossible for a man his age. His hands shoot forward, not striking but grasping, securing Chuck's GI at the collar and sleeve in the classical judo grips. Chuck reacts instantly, trying to pull back, trying to create distance. But Kimura's grips are like iron. His hands, conditioned through 50 years of judo, will not release. Chuck attempts a reverse punch, trying to strike while being held. The punch is technically correct, fast, powerful. But Kimura simply turns his body slightly, and the punch glances off his shoulder harmlessly. Before Chuck can fully retract his arm, Kimura executes a technique called osotogari, a major outer reap. His right leg sweeps Chuck's supporting leg while simultaneously pulling with his arms. The combination of push and pull, the disruption of Chuck's base, is overwhelming. Chuck tries to counter, tries to maintain balance, but his karate training has not prepared him for this type of attack. He falls backward hard, landing flat on his back on the mat. The impact is significant enough that the audience gasps collectively. Kimura does not follow Chuck to the ground immediately. He steps back, allowing Chuck to stand, showing that this is demonstration, not attack. Chuck rises quickly, his face showing surprise more than pain. That was interesting, Chuck says, resetting his stance. I was not expecting that level of control. Kimura nods. We try again. This time, you know what I will attempt. Defend better. Use your speed and timing. Show me how karate handles judo. They reset. This time Chuck is prepared. He knows Kimura will try to close distance and establish grips. He plans to use footwork and timing to prevent the clinch, to keep Kimura at striking range where karate techniques can function. Kimura advances again, and Chuck moves laterally, circling, using his superior speed to maintain distance. For several seconds, this works. Chuck's footwork is excellent, his movement crisp and controlled. But Kimura is patient. He has fought hundreds of opponents who tried to avoid clinching. He understands timing and misdirection better than most people understand breathing. Kimura feints to the left, and Chuck responds by shifting right. But the feint was set up for the real attack. Kimura changes direction mid-motion, something that should be impossible for someone his age, and suddenly he is inside Chuck's defensive perimeter again. His hands secure the grips, and before Chuck can react, Kimura executes a different throw, a suinage, a shoulder throw. He turns his back to Chuck, lowers his center of gravity, and pulls Chuck over his shoulder. Chuck flies through the air, completely inverted, and crashes onto the mat again, this time landing on his side. The technique is so smooth, so effortless, that it looks choreographed. But everyone watching knows it is real. The impact is too genuine, Chuck's surprise too obvious. Chuck stands again, more slowly this time. His confidence is shaken now. He has been thrown twice by a man 23 years older than him, a man who looks like he should be teaching in a quiet dojo, not demonstrating throws against a champion in his prime. Kimura watches him carefully, and for the first time, speaks more extensively. Champion Norris, what you are feeling now is important. Your karate is excellent. In tournament, against opponents who follow same rules, who fight at same range, you are superior. But judo teaches different lesson. Judo teaches that striking is only effective if you can maintain proper distance and position. Once grappler closes range and secures control, strikes become weak, angles become wrong, power cannot generate. This is not criticism of karate. This is education about ranges of combat that sport karate does not address. Kimura gestures to the audience, speaking loudly enough for everyone to hear. Many people believe martial arts can be ranked, that one style is better than another. This is foolish thinking. Every martial art addresses different problems, teaches different solutions. Karate is beautiful and effective for its purpose. Judo is beautiful and effective for its purpose. The wise martial artist learns from many styles, understands many ranges, respects many approaches. Today, I am showing Chuck Norris something his training has not included. Not to embarrass him, but to educate him. Because he is champion, and champion must understand all aspects of combat, not just the aspects his sport rewards. Chuck Norris listens to these words, and something shifts in his expression. The surprise is fading, replaced by genuine respect and curiosity. Sensei Kimura, may I try one more time? I believe I understand now what you are teaching. But I would like to test if I can apply this understanding. Kimura smiles slightly, the first time his stern face has shown any warmth. Of course. This is purpose of demonstration. To learn through experience. They reset for a third time. The audience is completely silent now. 5,000 people watching with absolute focus. The television cameras are capturing every moment. This is no longer just a demonstration. This is a teaching moment that transcends the individuals involved, a lesson about martial arts philosophy being presented to everyone watching. Chuck's approach is different now. He is not trying to simply maintain distance and counter. He is trying to understand the problem Kimura presents, trying to think beyond his tournament training. Kimura advances, and this time Chuck does something unexpected. Instead of purely defensive movement, he attacks first, launching a combination of hand strikes aimed at Kimura's head and body. The strikes are fast, technically perfect. But Kimura's response shows decades of experience. He moves his head minimally, just enough to let the strikes pass harmlessly, while simultaneously stepping deeper into Chuck's range. His hands secure the grips again, and Chuck, despite knowing what is coming, cannot prevent it. The grips are established, the control is secured, and Kimura executes a third throw, a haraigashi, a sweeping hip throw. Chuck is lifted completely off the ground and thrown over Kimura's hip, landing hard on his back once again. But this time, something different happens. As Chuck lands, Kimura follows him to the ground, maintaining control, transitioning immediately into a pin. His knee is on Chuck's chest, his hands control Chuck's arms, and his weight is perfectly distributed to prevent escape. Chuck struggles, using his strength and flexibility to try to escape, but Kimura's position is technically perfect. Every movement Chuck makes is anticipated and neutralized. After 10 seconds of futile struggling, Chuck taps the mat, signaling submission. Kimura releases immediately, helping Chuck to his feet once more. We are at the most critical part of this story, but before we continue, I need to ask you something. Are you seeing how this story is different from typical martial arts tales? This is not about violence or domination. This is about education, about a master teacher showing a champion student that there are always new things to learn. If you appreciate this deeper perspective on martial arts, if you want to see how Chuck Norris responded to this public lesson, hit that subscribe button right now. Smash the like button. And share this video with anyone who trains in martial arts, anyone who thinks they have their style figured out, anyone who needs to understand that true mastery means always being willing to learn. Comment below and tell me about a time you learned something that completely changed your understanding of your art. Now let us see what happened next. Chuck Norris stands in the center of the mat, breathing heavily, his GI disheveled from being thrown 3 times. He looks at Kimura with an expression that combines exhaustion, frustration, and profound respect. In front of 5,000 people and television cameras, he has just been completely dominated by a man old enough to be his father, using techniques he barely understands. For most people, this would be humiliating. But Chuck Norris is not most people. Instead of making excuses or showing anger, he bows deeply to Kimura, a bow that shows genuine respect and gratitude. Sensei Kimura, Chuck says, his voice carrying across the silent arena. Thank you for this lesson. You have shown me something I did not know I was missing. My entire approach to martial arts has been shaped by tournament competition, by sport karate. I train to be fast, to score points, to win matches. And in that context, I have been successful. But you have shown me that success in one context does not mean mastery of all contexts. You have shown me that there are techniques, strategies, and approaches that my training never addressed. This is not a defeat. This is an education. And I am grateful for it. The audience, which has been silent, erupts in applause. This is not the reaction of people who have witnessed a humiliation. This is the response of people who have seen something rare and beautiful, a champion showing humility, a moment of genuine learning captured on camera. Kimura bows in return, his expression serious but respectful. Champion Norris, your response shows why you are true martial artist, not just tournament competitor. Weaker man would make excuses, would claim this was not fair test, would dismiss what happened. But you accept the lesson and seek to learn from it. This is sign of great character. Kimura addresses the audience again, speaking in Japanese, which is translated for the international attendees. What we have seen today is not about which style is superior. It is about understanding that martial arts is vast, with many dimensions. Karate teaches excellent striking, timing, and distance control. Judo teaches excellent grappling, throws, and ground control. Neither is complete by itself. The wise martial artist studies multiple systems, learns multiple approaches, becomes complete fighter rather than specialist in narrow area. Champion Norris is beginning this journey today. I predict he will become even greater martial artist because of what he learned here. The demonstration ends with both men bowing to each other and to the audience. As they leave the mat, Chuck asks Kimura if they can speak privately. They retreat to a quiet area behind the main floor, away from cameras and spectators. The conversation lasts for 30 minutes. Chuck asks detailed questions about judo training methods, about grappling strategies, about how to integrate these concepts with his existing karate knowledge. Kimura answers patiently, sharing insights from 50 years of experience. By the end of the conversation, they have agreed that Chuck will visit Kimura's dojo in Osaka for private training sessions over the next week, before Chuck returns to the United States. The footage of this demonstration would be broadcast on Japanese television that evening and circulated through martial arts communities around the world over the following weeks. But the reaction was mixed and often dismissive. Many karate practitioners claimed the demonstration was staged, that Chuck allowed himself to be thrown to be polite to the older master. Some said that tournament rules prevented Chuck from using his most effective techniques, that in a real fight the outcome would be different. Others dismissed it entirely, saying that judo only works against people who do not understand grappling, that any karate practitioner who trained proper takedown defense would be fine. But those who were actually there, who saw Chuck's genuine surprise and struggle, who witnessed the technical perfection of Kimura's throws, knew the truth. This was a legitimate demonstration of the gap between sport training and comprehensive martial arts knowledge. Chuck Norris had been shown, in front of thousands of witnesses, that his world championship meant he was the best at sport karate, but not that he understood all dimensions of fighting. And rather than deny this or make excuses, he embraced the lesson and sought to learn from it. The private training sessions Chuck had with Kimura over the following week would prove transformative. Kimura taught him basic judo principles, not to make him a judoka, but to help him understand how grapplers think, how they set up throws, how they establish control. Chuck learned defensive strategies against takedowns, how to maintain better posture when grabbed, how to prevent grips from being established. More importantly, he learned the philosophical lesson that his tournament success had given him blind spots, areas of combat he did not understand because sport karate did not require that understanding. When Chuck returned to the United States, he immediately began integrating grappling training into his routine. He sought out judo and wrestling instructors, spending time learning the basics of these arts. He did not abandon his karate, which remained his foundation, but he added layers of knowledge that made him more complete. This cross-training mentality was unusual for traditional martial artists in the late 1960s. Most instructors believed in staying pure to their system, in mastering one art rather than sampling many. But Chuck had experienced firsthand the limitations of this approach. He had been dominated by Kimura despite being younger, stronger, and faster, simply because Kimura understood something Chuck did not. The impact of this experience on Chuck's teaching philosophy cannot be overstated. When he eventually opened his own schools and began teaching students, he emphasized adaptability and cross-training. He encouraged his students to understand multiple ranges of combat, to train in both striking and grappling, to respect different martial arts rather than claim superiority for any single system. Many of his most successful students would cite this open-minded approach as the key to their development. They learned karate as a foundation, but they also learned elements of judo, boxing, and later Brazilian jiu-jitsu as it became more prominent. The demonstration also influenced Chuck's film career in ways that are not immediately obvious. When he began acting in martial arts movies in the 1970s, he made sure the fight choreography reflected realistic combat, not just flashy karate techniques. He incorporated throws, takedowns, and grappling into his fight scenes, recognizing that audiences who understood fighting would appreciate the realism. His willingness to show his character struggling, being taken down, having to adapt and overcome, made his films more compelling than those of actors who portrayed invincible masters. The lesson he learned from Kimura, that even champions have weaknesses and must continually learn, translated into more believable and engaging performances. Masahiko Kimura would pass away in 1993 at the age of 75, but not before seeing the martial arts world evolve in ways that validated the lesson he taught Chuck Norris. The rise of mixed martial arts in the 1990s proved conclusively that fighters needed knowledge in multiple ranges, that pure strikers were vulnerable to grapplers and pure grapplers were vulnerable to strikers who understood defensive grappling. The comprehensive approach Kimura advocated, learning from multiple systems, became the standard in modern combat sports. Every successful MMA fighter today trains in striking, wrestling, and submission grappling, understanding that mastery requires knowledge across multiple disciplines. Chuck Norris, in interviews decades later, would reference his encounter with Kimura as one of the most important moments in his martial arts journey. "People often ask me about my toughest fights," Chuck said in a 1995 interview. "They want to hear about tournament battles or film stunts. But the truth is, my encounter with Masahiko Kimura in 1968 was the most significant combat experience of my life. Not because he beat me, though he certainly did that, but because he taught me. He showed me, with gentleness and respect, that I had much to learn. He could have humiliated me. He could have hurt me. Instead, he educated me. That is the mark of a true master. And the lesson I learned from him, that true martial arts mastery means continual learning and humility, has guided everything I have done since." The footage of the demonstration still exists, preserved in Japanese television archives and occasionally circulating on the internet. When martial arts historians analyze it, they note several important details. First, Kimura's technique is flawless despite his age. His throws are textbook perfect, demonstrating that proper technique transcends physical decline. Second, Chuck's inability to prevent the throws is not due to lack of effort or poor ability, but simply lack of knowledge in that specific range of combat. His karate skills are evident, but they are not applicable to the situation Kimura creates. Third, the mutual respect between the two men is clear throughout. This is not personal combat or ego clash. This is master and student, teacher and learner, sharing knowledge through direct experience. Before I conclude this incredible story, I want to make sure you understand something important. If you have watched this entire video, if you have followed Chuck Norris's journey from confident champion to humbled student to wiser martial artist, then you understand that martial arts is not about being unbeatable. It is about continual growth, perpetual learning, and respect for knowledge wherever it comes from. Subscribe to this channel right now if you are not already subscribed. We need more people who appreciate these deeper lessons from martial arts history. Hit that like button and share this video everywhere. Share it with martial artists who need to understand that there is always more to learn. Share it with people who think mastery means never being challenged. Share it with anyone who loves stories about authentic personal growth. Comment below and tell me what your biggest takeaway is from Chuck Norris and Masahiko Kimura's encounter. What will you do differently in your training because of this story? Thank you for watching, and remember, the greatest martial artists are not those who never lose, but those who never stop learning.